We are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. Woo! What's up, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Obscurity Now. My name is Steve, and with me is my hetero life mate,
Yahel. How's it going, Steve? A lot of energy. I was not prepared.
That's what the show is all about, man. You know, I want people to get pumped about weird and obscure media.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope you are too. Come on, man, get pumped.
I am a drug addict, and my drug is obscure media.
Yes. I came here to kick ass and check out... Wait, no, that's not right. I came here to look at obscure media and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. So fantastic. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you? Did you think I was going to have a longer answer? So you got yourself a drink.
Way to throw me under the bus, partner. I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk about Mortal Kombat, which isn't really obscure, but we're going to focus on some of the more obscure media bits of Mortal Kombat once we get to the feature presentation section. But before we do that, we got to take a look at some of the hot news stories going on that's sure to be obscure in the future with our segment that we call a Hot Topics.
Hot topic. Not cold, not warm, but hot topic.
That's right. It's Hot Topics, where we basically take a look at all of the crazy news that's been going on. And again, there really isn't that much crazy stuff. I mean, I guess it's debatable whether it's crazy or not. And the first story is going to be, I want to get your opinion on it, Mr. Yahel. And that certainly isn't it. Yes. Now, I know you're probably really broken up about this. I know I was. But I just think it's kind of interesting in that the Oscars, which premiered a few weeks ago, I don't know, because I haven't watched it so long.
I think it was last week, right?
Yeah, was it?
Last week, a week before last.
Only a few.
It wasn't pretty recent.
Yeah, only a few blocks from my house. Or from my apartment, was the lowest rated one of the lowest rated Oscars of all time, according to
Do you think it's because this is the Oscars that's been closest to where you live?
I mean, I've lived here for the past 3 years, and they have the Oscars in the same theater, the Dolby Theater, every year. In fact, it's been going on well before I ever moved here. Like, I don't know, that was going to be...
I was just seeing. I was just trying to connect the dots because you were like, hey, it's really close to me.
Well, I wasn't there, like, throwing tomatoes or anything or water balloons, though I have thought about it. No, I'm just curious. Yahel Velasquez, why do you think that this is the lowest rated Oscar of all time?
Yeah, I think it's been... It wasn't last year like the lowest, up to that point in time too.
So it's dropping off. People are losing interest. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what's been going on. I should have done some research, but I mean, I'm sure it's like a lot of things in media right now. It's multiple factors. You have a lot of award shows that are going on now.
A lot of pointless award shows. Yep.
Right. People haven't really been obviously going to the movies with the pandemic and everything the last year. And new movies have been getting released, and a lot of them have been going straight to streaming services. But I think people just don't, they don't see that the same way mentally. I think there's like a subconscious thing where it's like, oh, well, I saw it at home first. It's not like a movie. It's not like a film, kind of a thing that's worthy of an Oscar. I think there's maybe some of that. And I don't know. I just think people just have been... I don't know anybody my age that really cares about the Oscars that much.
I wish.
So I can just imagine like those younger than me probably care even less.
Yeah, oh, you got that right. Unfortunately, I don't know. I think it has to do with a lot of the proximity of where I live. People frequently ask me if I am going to watch the Oscars or or have an Oscar party, and my answer is always no. I haven't cared about the Oscars since the '90s. First off, it's kind of boring. I find most award shows to be
Right.
pretty boring, and secondly, none of the movies that I like ever win or even nominated for the most part. Or if they get nominated, they never win. And also, like, I've just heard so many stories about all the politicking that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, it's worse than WCW in the 90s.
Oh, there's an obscure-ish reference.
Yeah, that's what this show is all about. And yeah, like I just don't care. I don't need a committee of people to tell me that a movie is important in order to get me to watch it. And even,
Now, Steve, though, with you, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, that's okay. I'm done.
I was gonna say, with you being out, in Hollywood and in the biz, I assume though that for actors winning an Oscar, whether it's on the production side of things behind the camera or in front of it, is it still something that people aspire to and dream about, or is it kind of like, eh?
Oh, well, it depends on who you talk to. I have one good friend, and it's very important to him. And I mean, I just don't understand why. But I guess if you want that committee, I mean, if someone offered me an Oscar, like I wouldn't turn it down, because usually after you get one, you can pretty much write your ticket, like meaning you're getting paid decent money or even more decent money and getting a bunch of great projects offered your way and stuff. But there's many great people, especially directors like David Fincher and Stanley Kubrick. Even though he got like an honorary one for lifetime achievement, they never won an Oscar because they do their own thing and they don't care about playing that whole I guess Hollywood politicking game.
But Steve, so you bring up an interesting point that when you win an Oscar, you can get better parts, presumably more money. But now that the Oscars ratings have been doing so poorly, I like, is it worth to a studio to pay somebody more to direct or act in a movie just because they won an Oscar if nobody cares about the Oscars anyway?
Ooh, that's a good point. I mean, I wouldn't say that nobody cares. I would say that probably,
well, less people seem
right.
to care, yeah.
It seems like the mass majority of people, of Americans, don't care, especially since, like, if I'm like Joe Sixpack and I'm like fresh off my 12-hour day of whatever, I'm not going to sit down and watch the Oscars to find out that the movie that won is about like a woman who lived in a van and and was homeless. Like, I'm probably watching Transformers 5 or something like that. I mean, I'm not, but Charlie Sixpack is. I mean, you get what I'm saying, right?
I don't get what you're saying at all, Steve. But earlier you were talking about how the movies you like never win, and now I'm wondering if you're not talking about yourself.
Hey, I think those Transformers movies, I think one or two of them got it. Usually, like those blockbusters, they get it for sound effects or something technical.
Right.
Yeah, they never get it for like a best picture or anything like that. And
As they
as they shouldn't.
Makeup or costume design or something.
Yeah, best janitor, best janitorial, best craft services. Those are important Oscars that aren't even televised. Like I think, I guess one of the big sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? One of the things that the stunt community pushes for is like there's not even an Oscar for like best stunt person. And I think like if stuff like that got recognized, then maybe more people would be interested. Because as of now, I think a lot of people at this point just sort of view the Oscars as this self-aggrandizing, like, hey, we're the night the stars salute themselves, I think is what Jerry Seinfeld said one time. And I mean, I'm inclined to agree. Like, whether a movie I like wins an Oscar or not doesn't affect my life in the slightest.
Well, it doesn't affect mine either.
I know.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe Hollywood has to find a way for it to personally affect us.
Oh, well, I mean, that's why they've started all the virtue signaling. But that's another story. Anyway, I think we can close the book on the Oscars. They're done. They're finished. Washed up. There's never going to be another one again until maybe next year. So moving on to our next hot topic is the cast list for Borderlands was released. I think maybe like a week or two ago. You did a video on Borderlands, didn't you, Yahel?
I sure didn't.
All right, I'm thinking of a different movie then, or a different video game.
A different Yahel.
What? No, you're the only one I know, aside from like Yahel Smith from back east. What? No, wait. What was that? You did a doc on another game though. That had that was a multiplayer online action one. Which one was it?
GoldenEye? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, not GoldenEye. It was an online one.
Oh my God! I did a video on Overwatch.
That's what it was. That's what I was getting it confused with. Okay, forget all that stuff. All right, do you, Yahel Velasquez, care about Borderlands? Have you ever played it? What do you know about it?
I played it like a little bit, but I don't know. I didn't really like it. I'm not a big fan of the art style. And it's weird because I'm not a fan of the arts. I like that art style in other games and other media, but for whatever reason, for Borderlands, I just didn't like it. And I just never really got into it. But obviously, it's got a pretty big following. And this cast list is all over the place.
Sure. Allow me to read it off here for you. Ariana Greenblatt is Tiny Tina. I don't even know who Ariana Greenblatt is. And then there's Haley Bennett, who for some reason her part isn't listed. Kate Blanchett is Lilith. So, she has all this like dignity built up from all these like heavy dramas and stuff.
She's tired of her goodwill.
Right. She's sick of like doing well done movies, and I assume they just drove a dump truck full of money and it's like, we need you to lend some of your some of your dignity to Borderlands, Kate Blanchett. And she was like, okay. I think she's British, pretty sure she is. Anyway, moving on. Florian Minuto is someone named Krieg. I don't even know who either of those people are. And here's a big one. Jack Black is Claptrap. It kind of rhymes. It's got a nice little thing going on there. Gina Gershon, like I didn't even know she was still working, is playing someone named
good for her.
Moxie. Yeah, they cast her because she has a lot of moxie. And Jamie Lee Curtis is Tannis, which is actually a audio drama podcast that I listen to. Edgar Ramirez is Atlas, the god. Who knew they had gods in Borderlands? And this is the ultimate turnoff for me. That makes me not want to watch it.
Can I guess who it's going to be?
I think you know. Go ahead.
I'm not even looking at the list right now, but I'm going to guess. It's Kevin Hart.
Bingo! You got it all. If I had like a sound effects board, like, yeah, he's playing, get this crazy name, Roland. Okay. And,
Roland.
Yeah, whoa. Another hard to pronounce name, Janina Gavakar is playing Nox. And there's a bunch of other people that you really don't know who are playing characters that we don't know since, I've never played Borderlands. Do you even...
Oh, I thought you were into Borderlands.
Nope. No.
Well, good thing we're talking about this.
I know. It's because I thought you made a video on a game that you didn't. That is some great research on my part. But
the casting is I don't know, man. Like it almost looks like they're casting a very wide net.
They have to grab as many demographics as they possibly can, I guess. But the thing that most interested me is that this is directed by Eli Roth. What do you think of Eli Roth? Do I need to refresh your mind on the stuff that he's directed?
He's the hostile guy, right?
Yeah,
Does those,
that's him.
Eli Roth is great. He'll be the first one to tell you.
Yeah, you got that right. Hmm.
I mean, he's okay, I guess, if you're into that kind of stuff. I just he's not like terrible per se.
He's not terrible, but he's not great. And I feel like he kind of had his peak in the early to mid like 2005s or whatever, when everyone was into like torture porn.
Right.
And I mean, other than his sort of mediocre, and aside from like the graphic violence that's in them, like there's really not much else that goes into an Eli Roth film. Like for some reason he directed the Death Wish remake, and I mean I like watched that on Amazon Prime on like a lazy Saturday, and it killed a few hours. It wasn't awful. Like it's just one of those guys that I'm just like, why is he the guy for this job? Like, because I can't imagine they'll be going for an R rating with the Eli Roth style of graphic violence that he's known for in a video game movie. Man, there are so many video game movies coming out. Well, anything else you have to say about Borderlands, Yahel?
Yeah.
Or your love of Eli Roth?
Dude, it's so funny because that you mentioned Kevin Hart kind of killed it for you, because when I was looking through the list, I'm like, all right, because at first I was like, this is such like a weirdly diverse cast.
You gotta have the diversity. You gotta have it.
Well, I don't mean like traditional diversity.
Right,
I mean
I
in
know.
terms of like acting range, ages, the types of films that they've done.
Right.
Like it's so I was like, this is kind of an interesting cast from that perspective.
True.
So I was almost interested. Then I got to Kevin Hart. I was like, Jesus Christ.
You know who else is like
He's gonna
that?
be the comic relief.
Oh
and he's
yeah,
not funny
comic.
So.
Yeah, that's another person who does that for me. Is if I see that John Cena is in anything, I'm like, nope, I'm out. Can't do it.
I would actually, Steve, I would argue this cast is not very diverse outside of like.
It's true.
Kevin Hart is the one black guy, one black person. I'm sorry, there's two black people on the cast, and then it's just a field of, I think, all white people.
Well, I skipped over a few.
But I'm just saying I'm just saying it's not a particularly diverse cast. So I don't think they were really going for diversity.
No.
But to be fair, Borderlands has like a lot of don't they have like quite a few non-human characters anyways? So
yeah, sure, yeah. It's quite a hodgepodge in Borderlands.
I don't know. I don't know much about it.
All right, I think that's enough of us pretending to know about Borderlands. So we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is known as
Killing time.
Yes, there it is, Killing Time. And I might as well get right into it. One thing that has been killing my time that I've been enjoying immensely is Invincible on Amazon Prime. Who could I ask about it? Oh, I don't know. Yahel, what do you know about Invincible? Are you watching it? Have you read the comic? Talk to me.
I have been meaning to read the comic. I have not read it, but I've only heard like good things about it. I know it's by Robert Kirkland, right? Mr. Walking Dead. But for those who are afraid it'll be like that, 'cause I mean, I know a little bit about it, mostly just from like videos I've seen from like comic book content creators on YouTube. But it seems like it's nothing like it, whatsoever. And from what I hear, the series on Amazon's really, really good.
It's so good. Dare I say, the best superhero show streaming today. Way better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I mean, I didn't even watch WandaVision. I mean, it is like the comic book come to life. Of course, they changed some stuff. I mean, mostly the story is like there. They diversified some stuff, which I don't have a problem with. I have some minor complaints. Like they use a lot of like, I guess, hip hop music in the background here and there. I would just rather have a traditional score, or of course, like a 80s style synthwave score. But but that's just nitpicking. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. Does it fit with the kind of style they're going for? Because I know it's pretty violent and pretty gritty. So is that like what they're trying to do? Like match it with like some aggressive hip hop music or something like that? Or?
Sometimes they do that, and of course, there's a lot of like high school scenes. So there's, I guess, indie pop playing or whatever in the back. It's just stuff that isn't my style, but I understand why it's there, and it doesn't ruin it for me. Like, it's still a great show. I finished watching the last episode last night, and I highly suggest that you check it out, Yahel, and anyone who's happening to listen to this episode also check it out, because it's way better than that crap they're slinging around on Disney Plus.
Is it? Did you watch The Boys on Amazon?
Oh yeah, I love that show.
So how would you compare the two? Because from the outside, they kind of look like they might be a bit similar with like the superhero violence and that kind of a thing. I know like the themes themselves are different, but how would you compare it?
Well, The Boys is like a outright like satire on superheroes. Invincible is its own thing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of tropes in there from like the Marvel and I guess DC universe. You have the Guardians of the Globe, who are like the Avengers or Justice League, but they do stuff that Marvel or DC could never do. People getting killed and people getting their heads crushed. It reminded me of like watching anime back in the 90s. I'm sure a lot of people who've watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z will probably get a lot of vibes from that, just by the way like the fighting goes. It's like, at least it feels almost anime-esque in that, because they're treating you like an adult. I would say this is like maybe 16 plus. I guess it depends on what level of graphic violence you want to show to a child.
Right.
But I mean, it's all animated, so it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And
if your kids love murder, this is the show for them. Right?
Man, they murder so many people. It is crazy. And yeah, I would say like The Boys is like hard R. This would be like hard PG-13 to like low R. And is more of its own sort of world than a satire like The Boys is. Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. Can't recommend it enough. Anything else on Invincible?
No.
All right. I happened to catch. Oh,
Hot topic. Not cold, not warm.
I was doing so well.
I haven't heard of that one.
Well, it's this segment that where we talk about. No. Okay. Finally, I caught this movie, American Dreamer, also on Amazon Prime. I really like Amazon Prime. If you don't use it, you should check it out. Super dark movie called American Dreamer, starring Jim Gaffigan of all people.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was just
a dramatic role.
Oh yeah, not only is this dramatic, but it's like super dark. It's like, I would almost say like this generation's Taxi Driver. He's an Uber driver, or in this world they call it hail. And when he's not Ubering or hailing, he drives this drug dealer around.
As you do.
Sure. I mean, back when I Ubered, I drove all kinds of lascivious characters around. But I didn't get tipped like he does. But anyway, yeah, so basically he gets this idea to... I don't want to spoil too much. He concocts a plan to extort money from said drug dealer, and as plans usually do, they go awry. And I mean, you definitely have to be in the mood for a movie like this. Like, if you just want to ride down like a dark void, this is it. American Dreamer's the movie for you.
I'm a little concerned with your selections, Steve.
Hey, I watch all spectrums of the cinema rainbow, from the blackest of the black to the lightest of the light. In fact, I'm gonna go watch Care Bears as soon as we're done watching this.
Oh, good.
Yeah, for sure. So
I think you need some Care Bears in your life. Actually, the Care Bears movie is pretty dark.
That's true. That head in the
That
book.
kid gets possessed.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
kid gets possessed by like a demon.
By the head in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that movie is messed up.
That's
And he does some pretty screwed up stuff from what I remember. Yeah, maybe we should talk about the Care Bears movie.
we really
sometime in the
should.
future.
Oh, that, and I also am a big fan of the Chipmunk Adventure, though that is not very dark. But yeah, Care Bears. Put it on the list, brah. Put it on the list. So you said you wrapped up the old Voyager series.
Yeah. We finished Voyager last night. Did the series finale. It was really good overall. The series much better than I remember. I think it gets. I don't know. It doesn't probably get the recognition it deserves compared to TNG and DS9 these days. But yeah, really, really good. I think we're gonna watch because we're just like behind on stuff. But I think we're gonna watch the last season of Attack on Titan next, and then Picard. And
Are you excited to watch Picard?
I've already watched Picard. It's more for my girlfriend hasn't seen.
Oh.
This is like her first time watching, like going through all the Star Trek stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if you want to watch Picard, well, there's Voyager stuff in it, so you really should watch Voyager first. So that's why we watched Voyager, because and she ended up liking. I think she likes it more than TNG, even though she didn't really want to watch that first. So, or at least just as much as TNG.
What is your favorite Trek show?
I don't know, man. I would guess I would say TNG, but it's kind of like one of those things, like whatever show I'm rewatching, I'm like, oh yeah, this one, might be the best one, So it depends, but it's a toss between TNG and DS9. TNG is like my first love when it comes to Star Trek, so it'll always have like a special place in my holodeck.
That's good. That's really good. I like that. That's funny. Well, cool. I don't know. I mean, thank you for asking me what my favorite Trek is. I've only watched like bits and pieces of each of them.
Yeah, you've never really gotten into it, right?
Not as into it as you. I'd probably say I've seen the most of the original Star Trek and the Next Generation. But I always, and I would catch Deep Space Nine every now and then, and I liked that one for some reason.
I think you would really like Deep Space Nine, especially like from season 3 forward. It's very, it's a lot more serialized. And the finale is like a 10-part finale for the series. Like it's very, I hate to use the word epic, but it's epic in its scale, especially for the time. It's really good stuff.
Was the Voyager finale epic? Like, did they pull it off, or was it just sort of meh?
I would say it's very good, but it doesn't quite reach the heights of TNG, that has like one of the best finales in all of television. TNG's finale, but doesn't quite reach those heights or the heights of DS9's finale. But it's up there, man. It's really, really good. They just didn't have like I just wish they would have like built up to the finale, like with a few episodes kind of tying a little bit more directly into it. But it's still overall about the overall story of the show, about them trying to get home. So
absolutely, and I'm glad that you mentioned Voyager, because there was a Mortal Kombat Voyager connection. I don't know if you knew or not, but we're going to talk about that very soon in our next segment, known as the feature presentation.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
And there we are. And let me get rid of the Killing Time logo if I can. Let's see. Yes, so we're here to talk about Mortal Kombat.
yes,
all
very
things
fresh in my memory.
in Mortal Kombat, especially the new movie, of course, because it only came out like a week or two ago. We're going to compare it to the original film, and we're going to talk about the thing that no one is talking about, which thus makes it obscure, and that is the short films. But first, we're going to go to the Obscuritron, which is the name of the theater that I built for us. And we're going to watch the trailers for the original Mortal Kombat from 1995 and then Mortal Kombat Legacy, which is the short films. Then we're going to come right back here and discuss it. So let's go to the theater. Ooh, here we are. And we'll start with the original. Oh, darn it. You're not there. Give me a second. And there you are. Wow, I'm getting pretty good at this.
Wow.
Covering up for my own incompetence, that is. Let's see. Oops, that's not good. There, NDI source. There you are. And, beautiful. Okay, and bam. There you go. All right, so here comes Mortal Kombat 1995. I'm already in love. No.
I assume that we're still muted for this.
No. Let's take a look at the check. No, we're there. Yeah, let's make fun of it. Ooh, bow staff. So Mortal Kombat. Is this Highlander? What's going on?
So, I watched this pretty recently. I think it took a few months ago. And I mean, I'm not gonna make fun of this. Like, I like.
Oh no, I loved it. When I turned it on, I couldn't stop watching it. And it's
like, look at these. Some of these sets are like pretty cool.
And that's one of the things.
I think the trailer might be a little low, the volume.
Okay. Your soul is mine.
By low, I mean completely inaudible.
Oh,
there we go. The guy that plays Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat movie is a charisma machine.
Oh, he is.
And he is so hammy.
Oh, it's so good. And memorable.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite of the new Shang Tsung.
I agree. And I mean, I just feel like, man, the sets in this movie are so well done.
Yeah, so much better than the obvious studios they were hanging out in the new one.
Right. Freaking Kurt Lambert is Raiden.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, like,
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped.
I think it's certainly a better put together trailer too than the 2021.
Yeah, I would play it, but I assume everyone's seen it at this point.
I wouldn't play it. I think Twitch would.
Yeah, for
give
sure.
You a strike or whatever they do.
Yeah, so, okay, let's just get into this, and we'll play the Mortal Kombat Legacy trailer, I guess, when we get to it. Yeah, okay, so basically when I heard they were remaking Mortal Kombat, I assumed that they wanted to make a movie that was better than the previous Mortal Kombat. In fact, whenever I hear remake, that's what I foolishly assume. But what they're actually doing is cashing in on a 30-year-old franchise with his, I guess, with as little money and I don't know, with as little creative input as possible, I would say. At least that's how I felt after watching the new Mortal Kombat. And I also felt, my God, Yahel was right. Because we talked about it last episode, and you were just like, oh, I don't know. And I'm just like, nah, man, you're wrong. It's going to be great. And I also thought, basically, we were going to be getting because, we talked about how the new trailer looked dark and serious. And I thought we were going to be getting a continuation of this. Here's the trailer for Mortal Kombat Legacy. Which, you've seen this, right?
I think so.
It's 11 years old at this point.
I think I'll know when. Yeah, I think I have seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kano is a ghost. Anyone
Yeah, I guess.
is dead.
Comes the original live action.
Do you really want to push that it's the director from Mortal Kombat Remake. Oh wait, maybe I haven't seen this because this guy from Battlestar Galactica's in it.
Yeah, it also has Michael Jai White. There's Jerry Ryan. She played Sonya.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so much better than what we got.
She's actually a good actress.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of time. Prepare your teams to move out.
Michael J. White's a good choice too for Jax.
Man, Michael Jai White is so good. Just limitless talent, but for whatever reason, he's just... I mean, not that it's bad. He's like stuck doing like foreign action films. All right, we're gonna go back to the regular screen here.
Yeah, he's a really talented guy. Very underrated.
Great martial artist too. It's funny because in one of the short films, the one for Johnny Cage, like in this version of him, he's trying to pitch like a reality show to these executives, and they keep saying, "Oh man, the action star is dead." And I mean, in 2011, I'd say they're probably right, and they're more right now than ever. I mean, the guy who does play Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat Legacy doesn't hold a candle to the original Johnny Cage, who I thought was so good. Like he nailed it. And I mean, I don't think anyone really liked playing as Johnny Cage, but he did a good job bringing that character to life and made me want to play as Johnny Cage afterwards, even though I never did. Who is your Mortal Kombat character, by the way?
Scorpion was always my go-to, and then once MK2 hit, I did get into Baraka a lot. But
yes.
between those two, those were usually my two go-tos.
Sure.
But, who did you invest your time in?
I invested hours into Liu Kang. I liked him just because he reminded me of Bruce Lee, mostly. And then later on, I liked Cabal just because I thought he was an interesting looking character. Even though in the new version of Cabal, he looked weird. Like when I first saw him, I thought it was Cyrax, and then when he started talking, I was like, "What? Like what?
Yeah,
voice
at first
is
I
this?"
thought it was like a messed up like a weird version of Cyrax too, and then I was like, "Oh, okay." Mm-hmm. I think the costume's fine. It just didn't look the way I would expect Cabal to look. But then, like you said, he started talking. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should back up a little bit.
Sure. Back up.
So, when talking about Mortal Kombat, because that's like way later on when they introduced Cabal.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Like, so that was my expectations going into the new Mortal Kombat, that they were gonna make a movie that was better, not only better than the 1995 one, but one that was going to continue what was started in 2011 with Mortal Kombat Legacy, which, during my research, it was touted as giving Mortal Kombat the Dark Knight treatment, making it more realistic and gritty, which, I mean, after watching those short films, which you should watch them too, like, I'm like, yeah, this isn't too bad. This is pretty awesome, as a matter of fact. But it's still like ridiculous. Like there's episodes where they go to Outworld and Baraka's there, and all the same ridiculous stuff is there. It's just, I guess, more gritty. And I felt like I was being treated somewhat like an adult in those. Whereas with the new Mortal Kombat, oh my God, I guess the big question is it a cash grab? Because like I felt like compared to the 93 one, the script was like absolute trash. It's like they didn't really they gave characterization to only Kano, who like everyone talks about. Oh, Kano is so funny. It's like, okay, Kano is the comic relief. Like, who are everybody else? Like they had no characterization, and I think it kind of lacked not only lacked in the script department, but also probably in the director department too, who was just like, this is just going to get translated into Chinese and we'll get our money that way. Don't worry about acting. Like, don't worry about a decent script.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, by the time it was all over, I was like, that was supposed to be better than the '95 one. I mean, it was just as cheesy but less fun, which is
That's a good way to describe it.
like the only. I'm almost done, and then you can have your turn.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. The only thing they did, like, there was like, well, how can we improve upon it? It's like, well, in the '90s,
Why is Bubba running this?
I don't
why is
know.
Bubba from the Dudley Boys running this movie.
Why are all these New Yorkers out here in LA? I don't know. But they're like, well, the kids, they used to complain that it was PG-13 and there was no fatalities. And they're like, that's it. We'll sprinkle in a few fatalities and some adult language. That way we'll get a nice soft R. And then that way all the 30-year-olds who were kids back in the 90s will go, oh, it's rated R now. Well, hello, Mortal Kombat. This is the one I've always wanted to see. But then when you watch it and you're like, oh, everyone's like just sort of standing around. And then when they do fight, there's no emotional like arc to like make you even root for anyone,
Right.
except for Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So basically that's my review. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Yahel.
I didn't like it either. Like you said, I think it's cheesy, but not fun, because it's cheesy, but it's not trying to be cheesy. Whereas the first Mortal Kombat didn't take itself too seriously, and every most of the cheesy stuff in it kind of does with a wink and a nod at the audience. Like, it knows what it is. It knows that Mortal Kombat universe is absolutely ridiculous, and they lean into it. I would say the actors overall are probably better quality actors in the new movie. However, not all of them, but I just mean overall, because there's some real crappy ones in Mortal Kombat 1.
The original
lady that
Jax.
plays
Yeah.
I was gonna say Jax he's only in the movie for like a scene in the original one, but for like the next 15 minutes, like all I could think about was how awful his line delivery was, and he only has two lines.
Two lines, and he blew it.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, those were the best takes that they had.
It took 27 takes, and that's the best we got.
Yeah, he's awful. Sonya Blade, the actress that plays her, who's like the actress from Billy Madison, I think. She's awful as Sonya. Christopher Lambert he's not awful as Raiden. He's playing Raiden the way he meant to play Raiden.
Sure. When I was rewatching the original one just a few nights ago, the scene where he first shows up, he walks into like the monks, and he's got his like big hat down, and then he finally looks up and it's him, and like I just burst out laughing. But it's okay. I mean, I like Christopher Lambert because of Highlander, and he's still like, I don't know. I think everyone in the original MK is trying their best to bring, I mean, and again, the characters in MK 93, aren't the most, deep. I mean, they're basically they're 90s action archetypes. And, you've got the regular guy, which is Liu Kang, tough woman, Sonya, comic relief, Johnny Cage, and then pretty much you've got
Kano too was kind of comic relief. Actually, Kano in the new movie is basically a ripoff Kano from the '93 Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely, yeah. So like, why did they give all the characterization to the new Kano and then to no one else? Like, and then they also made the mistake of creating a new character, right, and making him the main.
Cole Young.
Whoa, I'll never forget that awesome name. Right? Cole Young. Yeah, better, so much better than Cole Old. Boo.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird choice, and the whole time I was thinking, actually, well, maybe they're gonna kill him. So that they have, like somebody important to kill, but somebody that also whose death won't have an impact on, like, it's not like they killed off like a major character or
Right,
whatever.
like killing Morph in X-Men Episode 1. Like, he was created
the
just to
animated
kill,
series. Yeah. But like, they do kill off like a few characters, like Goro and stuff in this movie, but then they kind of like tell you that they're going to be back at the end when Shang Tsung's like, oh, it doesn't matter, death is just another portal.
Oh yeah,
like,
so he wasted all of our time.
Builds around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
so
man.
that was great. But not really great. But I wasn't a fan of the movie. The dialogue was not good.
It wasn't even like funny dialogue like the first movie.
I thought that they were gonna try to like have the movie be like more I don't know, to make us emotionally invested in Hanzo at the beginning, the way it opens, with the scene with him and his wife and the kid and the family gets killed. I thought like that was actually going to go on way longer when it opened up, and we were going to get like more background on him, and then that way it would like mean something more when his family got killed. But I don't know, like 5 minutes later they're all dead.
Right.
Which, okay, that's fine. They just like, it's like they start to do things to like maybe try and get you into a character, and then they're like, that's enough.
Yeah, I feel like there was probably some executive from Warner Brothers who was like, we don't need no family killing. Just stop it right about here. And
there's so many things in this movie that don't make any sense. First of all, this movie has one of the tropes that I hate the most in action movies or in any movie, because it makes no sense whatsoever. The underground fighting ring or whatever. Like, so there's like a few hundred people there to watch like these two guys like fight in some kind of, obviously not illegal thing,
right.
And Jax walks in, the door's unlocked. He doesn't even have to pay to get in or anything. So like how's money being made here? Like what's the point of this? So I just hate that. It's so lame.
Lazy.
There's so many things that they start on this movie and never follow up on. Like his wife, Cole Young's wife's like, oh, I don't watch him fight anymore. I'm not gonna stick around for his fight. So you think, but she's not mad that he's fighting or anything. Like you think like that's where they're gonna go and show some like, issues with their marriage or whatever, and then they overcome that, and you get some character development. No, she's fine. She just doesn't, that he fights, she just doesn't watch him fight anymore.
Like I imagine that stuff was probably in there, but they like cut it because they're like, no. All we need is like fighting and effects in order to like sell this to China. And I mean, pretty much the sad thing about this overall, I should probably wait till the end of your review, was like, during the pandemic, like I kind of thought that they were gonna, fold in all the remakes and the blockbusters and maybe start making, mid-range like decent movies again. But obviously, Mortal Kombat is a step back in the wrong direction of just doing a remake, like cash grab, poorly written with just a bunch of effects and whatever, and then China and America and everyone, I guess, will just eat it up. And it was number one. It ended up beating out Demon Slayer. So you and I can sit here and argue about how bad the script was until the cows come home, and it doesn't matter because Warner Brothers wins in the end.
Yeah. I mean, and you talk about like the action and the effects. I mean, the effects were fine, like they're good, but that doesn't, like, that's not enough. No, in 2021, every movie
has good effects,
has good special effects. So this movie makes the mistake that a lot of effects heavy movies make, which is, well, since all effects are good and every movie has good effects. By the way, I think the stream just died. It went black. Maybe it's just my computer.
Still streaming on this end.
Never mind. Never mind. I guess. Never mind.
Okay.
Twitch just went black up for me. All right. Sorry to interrupt myself.
Nah.
But back to what I was saying. So yeah, they're like, okay, well, we'll just do a ton of effects then.
Right.
And the problem is that they use so many effects that they mean nothing, and they're not used very creatively.
No.
And whereas in the 93 Mortal Kombat, yeah, the CG, a lot of it doesn't hold up very well, but because they're limited, especially with their budget and the kind of effects they could do, they use them, I feel like, more creatively and
Sure.
smartly,
Sure.
and in a way that moves the story along better, and it makes for moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, Scorpion finally uses his, CG,
Little bird
thing
thing
that,
out of his.
yeah. That doesn't look that great today.
It doesn't
but
make
it
any
looked awesome
sense
then.
either. Yeah.
But it's like a big moment, right? Because they save up to it. Whereas like here, like Sub-Zero's like making it snow for no reason.
Right. Yeah. It's overused. Yeah. Just bloated. Like yeah.
And the thing with Sub-Zero too that killed me was that he at any point could have killed everybody he was fighting.
They made him too powerful. Yeah.
Right. But he just would choose not to, and then sometimes he'd be like, okay, I guess now I'll use this other big ice thing I could have done all along to kill him, but I won't use it in my next fight for some weird reason.
Right. Well,
You know?
I mean, if they would have bothered to actually flesh out the script, they could have easily explained that he can only do the snow magic like every once in a while because it makes him tired or something.
But it seemed like he could do whatever, whenever.
Right. I'm saying they should limited it. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. And everything was like effortless every time he used it. He never struggled to use his powers. To be fair, nobody really struggled to use their powers.
Right.
But the thing that like I don't know, like in the original Mortal Kombat, the 93 Mortal Kombat, like there's scenes where Sub-Zero goes to do something that's out of the norm, and it's a big slow thing where he has to like come in and really concentrate. And they build it up so like it means something. Like
right.
I don't know, like I just felt like nothing meant anything
Nope.
throughout this movie. They make a big deal out of them getting their powers, their Okana or whatever they called it.
Oh, that was the worst.
But here's the thing, like, so it's a big struggle for Kano to get it, for Cole Young. I hope I'm remembering his name right, for him to get it, and for those two, I guess, to get it. And then when Sonya kills Kano, 5 minutes later, she's got hers.
Of course.
Like boom, she shows up in she kills Kano. The very next scene she's in, she jumps in, boom, like shoots her little thing.
That
right
thing
away.
is so
she
lame.
got it right away.
Like I like when I was like, I don't need to see everybody do their powers from the game. Like I liked how they did in the 95 one better, where it was just sort of like a taste of the power, like when Liu Kang does the fireball at the end, and it's just sort of like and then in the new one, Liu Kang is just like the Human Torch. He's like making he's like Pyro from the X-Men, making these like flame dragons and stuff. And like I don't want to see that. I just want to see some decent martial arts, and then have some like just typical sort of witty action dialogue like in the first one. Like when my friends and I finished watching the original Mortal Kombat, like we were coming out going, this is the part where you fall down. It's like, that's not like Shakespeare or anything, but it's memorable.
Right.
Like I can't remember a single line of dialogue from the new Mortal Kombat.
Unfortunately, because I just watched it.
Let's hear what you got
before this. So, well, a couple of things I wanted to point out is with the dialogue is they do the thing where they say phrases from the movie.
Right.
Victory,
or the video game. Yeah.
Over here. Right. From the video game, excuse me. Which is expected.
Sure.
And they do that in the original Mortal Kombat movie as well. But they it's hard to say those things and have it not be cheesy. Right.
Of course.
So in the original Mortal Kombat, they kind of lean into it. Like in the original Mortal Kombat, Shang Tsung says flawless victory after one of the tournament fights.
Right.
First of all, that makes sense. Because you just watched the fight, right? And and that guy is very hammy and kind of so cheesy. Good. So that it makes sense for his character to just be like flawless victory, or whatever. In this movie, Kung Lao says it after he kills I can't remember her name, the lady with the wings. Kills her, and he goes but he's super serious about it. He's like, flawless victory for Kung Lao. I'm sorry.
Kung Lao had no personality at all. He was just like, hey, I'm here. He was just there so he could do his spinny fatality hat thing. And then after he did that, he got his soul sucked by Shang Tsung, and we never saw him again. That's another. They shoveled on so many characters, but anyway, continue.
Another one was when Kano beats somebody, I can't remember. He goes, Kano wins. Like, what? Like,
Right.
you know, something like that. Like, I mean, and again, if you're gonna do that stuff, it's fine, but you gotta like either like just say, okay, you know what, this is cheesy.
Mhm.
Let's do it in a cheesy way or whatever. If you try to do it seriously, like you really need to have it somehow make sense within the scene.
Right.
But to me, the worst offense, Steve,
Oh, I can't
was
wait.
when Scorpion comes back.
Oh,
He shoots his
spear
his
thing.
What is
The
his spear
garden
thing.
trowel. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, "Get over here."
Right.
The problem is that this Scorpion only speaks Japanese. When we
That's a
see him at
good
the
point.
beginning
I
of the
didn't even
movie-
realize that. Yeah.
When we see him in the beginning of the movie, he's only speaks Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like hundreds of centuries ago, and well, centuries ago, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the guy doesn't know English. He goes to hell, comes back. When he comes back to do that fight with Cole Young, he only speaks in Japanese the whole time until he does "Get over here" in perfect English.
That's so
Like,
lazy.
so what? Did he like learn this phrase like that? Like, they should have had him do it. They missed opportunity. Have him say it in Japanese. It won't seem as cheesy.
That would have been really cool.
And just do the subtitles like you did every other time like I think like that would have been like way
That would have
better,
been
but-
awesome. Yeah. Like, I think maybe a different production where people were actually trying would do something like that. There are other similar instances of stuff like that in other movies. I just can't think of any at the moment. But yeah, man, you should have been a producer on the new Mortal Kombat. You probably could have made it better.
Anybody could have done a better job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't fun. I didn't like that they made Cabal basically have the same personality as Kano
Yeah,
either.
That's true. Yeah, they were.
They both are just like wisecracking or
and
you know, scumbags.
Right, and yeah, and at first, like, they made Kano good, and then they made him not good. I mean, which I guess makes sense, but like, then there's no comedic relief for the good guys. Another thing, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't like, you know, when you were talking about how their powers manifest or whatever due to the, what did you call it again?
They call it their Okana. I think that's what the Okana gives them the power, or that's what they call the powers.
Right, like, that's so lazy. Why would the Okana make a mechanical eye or mechanical arms? That's a little thing I like to call science, and makes absolute no. I mean, why not just grow the arms back? Because then he wouldn't look like Jax from Mortal Kombat 2, I guess, or 3, whichever one he had the robotic arms in. Like, that's so
But you know,
lazy.
then they would have ran into the issue of like, well, who made these arms? Like, for them. Like, I think they wrote themselves into like a corner because it's so poorly written. Where it's like oh well shit, now we have to get Jax these arms.
Right. Well, I mean, since they were busy being so lazy, I mean, in the first Mortal Kombat, Kano shows up and he just already has his eye, and they never were like, I wonder who made him that eye, and then had like a dumb like exposition, flashback or anything. He just had it. Whereas, you know, Jax could have had his arms, and I think even in
although I think Kano doesn't get like a mechanical eye. I think it's still like a regular eye. It just shoots lasers.
Right. Well, I mean, is that the case?
I'm pretty sure that's.
I thought there was
when he first does it.
He gets his eye scratched, and then it magically. I mean, when it turned, I mean, it would have to be mechanical to shoot a laser. But whatever.
Yep.
This is like that's really lazy if that's the truth, or if that's the case.
Because his eye never got injured. His eye never got injured when his face got scratched.
In the Mortal Kombat Legacy, he was fighting Jax, and like Jax punches him, and the eye flies out and right on the camera. It's so good. And then a bomb goes off, and that's how like Jax got his arms, which is so much better. But
you know what I wonder if like with Cabal and Kano, if they were trying to recreate the dynamic that Goro and Kano had in the first Mortal Kombat. Because in the first Mortal Kombat, Goro is like really funny, but like he doesn't have the same personality as Kano per se, but like they have some banter, and like it's more like Goro's just like shitting on him. You know?
Right. It's funny because it's like this, you know, high up prince talking to this low life, criminal low life. And that's why it's funny. Yeah. Whoever wrote the original Mortal Kombat, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing, at least compared to the new Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. What did you think about the fights themselves?
Well, this is a trope of modern action movies, especially when it comes to martial arts, at least the ones made here in the US. Like, basically, there's a cut after every move, and it really takes me out of, like, you're just supposed to, like, let the fighters choreograph it and let the camera roll, basically, which is obviously how they did it back in the original one. But yeah, there was so many cuts and so much use of like magic that I never could like fully invest myself in the fighting.
Right.
I mean, I think it was obvious that most of those guys, knew what they were doing. I think it was a problem in post-production, or just a problem with how they make martial arts movies these days. And yeah, when like the fighting was started, I just really felt nothing, and also due to the lack of like characterization and stakes in the script. The only time I ever really felt anything was when Scorpion showed up at the end, and it's like, oh, finally he's gonna have his revenge. But even then, it's like, oh, they both have to fight him, and that's like the whole purpose of Cole Young was for him to bring Scorpion back at the end. Like, you could actually edit out the opening scenes of like Sub-Zero, you can start with Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, edit out the whole middle of the film, and then just have the last part, and you don't even need that middle part. It just doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and like Scorpion says in Japanese, of course, to Cole Young that you freed me, you released me, or you freed me, something like that, like from hell. How?
Oh, because his blood got on the dagger, man. Like, duh.
like what?
Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that was like really weird. It made no sense within, or I should say, there was no storyline explanation as to why Cole would get these flashes of Scorpion throughout the movie, like in his mind, I guess, presumably.
No,
he'd be like, whoa.
It's because it was their ancestors, man. It's in his DNA, dude. Like,
and he never tells anybody that he's seeing this either. So like, it just happens to happen.
Probably something they just added in later. Yeah.
Like it's just dumb. Like there's so much. This did not need to be an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh no, 90 minutes. I wonder the runtime of the first Mortal Kombat. I mean, it just flew by.
I think it's 90 minutes. If I remember
probably.
Right. Now, to be fair, there is 10 minutes of credits in the new Mortal Kombat. So it's an hour and 40 minutes, which is still like way too long. I feel like.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I didn't like the fight scenes either. Yeah. I agree with you. Too many cuts. One thing I will say, I was surprised that there wasn't more wire work, which it's good.
Right.
But when there was wire work, it was very obvious.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't go too crazy with the wire work. But even if there hadn't been a million cuts, I don't think the fight scenes were anything special.
No, but best fight scenes ever filmed, man, was that just media baloney right there. Like it got nowhere near the Raid. Like it was just typical blockbuster or schlockbuster fighting, which is, I guess, what should be expected. I shouldn't have expected anything more.
And the one other thing that I think really killed the fights, and for me, a lot of the movie in general, is that the set pieces, especially where they have fights, are so uninteresting,
boring,
and bland. Like that dusty practice area.
Yeah.
Like they have a big freaking fight scene in there, and it's just a bunch of like brown everywhere, a bunch of brown dust and dirt everywhere.
It's so boring. The construction site.
Like the construction site, and then like all the ice everywhere. Like that's boring. The one little bridge with like barely any background, where they fight Nathan Jones, who played General whatever. Like that's boring. At least in like the original Mortal Kombat, man, you have a lot of like really cool sets that you can tell were like, hand built. They're real, they're there, and they're very, very like intricate and there's a lot of eye candy for you to look at.
For sure. Absolutely. And what do you, I mean, this is a nitpick. Like, do you prefer the current Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero and Scorpion with their like samurai outfits, or do you prefer like the ninja style from the original?
I do think these costumes looked way better than the costumes in the original Mortal Kombat. The original Mortal Kombat looks Party City cheap.
Like, I just wish they weren't so bulky, because I feel like, you know, if you're a ninja, you don't want to be constricted. But again, the tunics were pretty lame. Even when I was watching back the original one and they walked out, at first I was like, cool, and then I was like, tunic.
Yeah. The costumes are definitely better in this movie.
Yeah, I could say that. I'll give it that, for sure. And I what about I mean, this probably isn't even a question. Like, I thought the soundtrack was also pretty lame for the new movie.
Oh, yes. I had made a note that... you go ahead.
I mean, there's really nothing to say other than there were times when I think finally some sort of synth sequencer kicked in, and then I was like, oh, there's a little something. It kind of reminded me of, like, Tron or something, maybe the Tron sequel. But then... yeah, I mean, it certainly was no, you know, Mortal Kombat theme from 1995, which,
yeah,
I mean,
music was...
anyone who heard that song back then has probably never gotten it out of their head. And, I mean, and I definitely missed it through, even in, like, you know, even if you were to say that you thought the fighting was lame in the first Mortal Kombat, at least that theme was playing behind it most of the time, which like made it so good. And they edited to it, like and it gave the fights a bit of a rhythm. Where these new fights, like, it was just garbage. Like,
yeah, I hated the music. First of all, like, they would switch the style and the music like every like 10, 15 seconds. I don't know if you noticed that, where it'd be like some heavy electronic thing, then it'd be like, they'd like go into something else. Like,
yeah,
it didn't flow at all. It sounded like somebody who just started to learn how to DJ was like practicing going from one song to another. And that's what it sounded like.
It's so true.
And what you were saying about the original music, every once in a while they would like give you like a few bars that sounded similar to it, where you'd be like, it'd be like dun 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 dun, like, and you'd think, oh, they're gonna go into it, and then they'd stop and go into like something completely different with the music.
Right.
They knew they would never like get into it. So it's like, hey, remember how awesome this song was?
Right.
Well, you're not gonna hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly disappointing, for sure. Like, if you're gonna remake something, you should make it better. But I guess Warner Brothers had other ideas. I mean, I even liked the animated Scorpion movie that came, or it's not the Scorpion movie, it's called Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, that came out just a year or two ago. It was still written better than this one, and was basically, I mean, it was basically the Mortal Kombat. I guess we should also address, what did you think about the fact that there was no tournament in the Mortal Kombat movie?
I mean,
it was just part of...
I'm okay with that, because I'm actually okay with that, because, you know, there was a reason for there not to be a tournament, and it actually, like, at least gave, like, I don't know, you know, some... I thought it was a pretty good plot device, actually, for them to not have a tournament, because, you know, Shang Tsung's just killing them off ahead of time.
Right,
you know?
right.
And I did kind of like how, like, Cole Young says, like, you know what, they don't want to do a tournament, we'll just give them, we'll make them have one by, you know, having Raiden, you know, like, transport everybody individually to, like, fight us. So I did kind of... I liked that they at least... I actually didn't mind.
I actually forgot that there was a Raiden in that movie. So boring.
The effect with his eyes, lame.
So lame.
Really
so
fun.
lame. All right, so to wrap this up, basically, I'm sure you've already seen it already, but Yahel says to skip it. I say to skip it, but I'm sure you've already
Go watch
seen it.
1993 Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, or Mortal Kombat Legacy. Like, it's so good. Let's see. let's see if we can take a look at the Mortal Kombat comic book before we... Nope, we definitely don't want this again. Yeah, in fact, never again. I never want to hear that trailer or anything about Mortal Kombat 2021 ever again. So let's see if this is going to work. Oh, all right, can you see the comic up on the screen?
Yes.
All right, this is the Mortal Kombat comic that was first only available. I don't know if you remember, but in the arcade cabinet, there was like you could order a Mortal Kombat comic if you spend like $2.99 or something. Well, this is it, and it was at first only available through the arcade game, and I guess it was released later. And it's actually written and drawn by Tobias, the creator of Mortal Kombat. What's his first name? John or Ed or something?
Ed Boon and I think John Tobias.
Yeah.
Guys I made.
Yeah, not bad, I'd say. I mean, kind of in.
I noticed not a lot. I noticed not a lot of backgrounds. There's just a lot of gradients and solid colors. And a lot of...
Oh wait, you can't see it, or no, I see. I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Not a lot of background art. They
right.
Just,
well, I mean, I
have to get this done quick.
Sure. I like at least they were trying to flesh out the story here, which I was talking to some guy about Mortal Kombat, and he was trying to tell me that there just wasn't that much story to work off of, even from the original movie. And I'm like, what? Like, compared to other video games, there's plenty of story. At least compared to Street Fighter. And I had already seen the Van Damme Street Fighter prior to watching this movie. And I think we can all agree that Mortal Kombat movie compared to Street Fighter is like Citizen Kane compared to like a Michael Bay film or something.
Not only that, but there's like years and years and years of Mortal Kombat story now they can go off.
Oh yeah, and that's that's the weird thing is I think the fact that I hadn't played a lot of the other games, I mean, it didn't ruin the new movie for me. There were plenty of other things that did that for me, but there was just a lot of people I'm like, who's that? I've never seen that guy before, but I guess that's my own fault for not playing the games. Let the tournament begin. And wow, his font got really like nasty there. And yeah, you gotta love the mullet here on Liu Kang.
It's beautiful. I did like that. Like when you were asking about the not having a tournament thing. One thing I wanted to say is I think that's good because now they can still, because there's going to be sequels. I think they signed up like 3 more, right? I read, and at least now if they can do the tournament next time, and it's not like, oh god, they're doing the tournament again. So.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well.
Oh my god, what did they do to poor Sonya's face?
I know. She's looks like she's gonna be led out to pasture and fed carrots and oats.
So does Johnny Cage actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the Tobias style. But I mean, I wonder if he's gotten any better since then.
Wait, Tobias wrote it or drew it?
Both.
Oh.
See, there's his name right there. John Tobias. That's it. Okay.
All right. Well, hey, kudos to him. I'm sure he always just wanted to do a comic book. And
got sucked into the video game world. Oh, no. Poor guy.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure he just wanted to work on. But yeah, I'll say this. His hands, pretty good at drawing hands.
And look at those pouches. Woo, top notch.
Bottom of faces, not so good.
All right. Well, let's jump into our final segment known as the Project Report.
What on earth have you been working on? It's time for Project Report.
All right. This is where we sort of just discuss about whatever projects we've been working on. I'm sure there can't be too much from last week, but I will go ahead and ask you anyway. Yahel, how's your video coming?
Oh, it's coming along very slowly. Just been working away at editing. Right now, I'm actually rendering some 3D scenes while we're doing this podcast. So yeah, it's coming along.
I'm glad we have your full attention. But hey, as long as you can multitask.
Cinema 4D is rendering a scene for me.
Oh, I've got a follow-up question here. Have you ever messed around with like the Unreal Engine as a renderer? Or I don't even know if it. I assume there's one in there. And I know they released they've got MetaHuman Creator now, which is a way to just, I guess, make your own. Have you ever messed around with that stuff?
No, there's a guy I know that works in the video game industry, and he's been trying to get me to switch to Unreal Engine. But no, I haven't. And so I might at some point, but
I don't know. I think it might be a way to get a decent job or something. but we'll see. Well, glad to hear that that's working out for you.
What about you, Steve? What do you have coming up?
Well, not a whole lot. I've been busy submitting this show to all the different various podcast aggregators. Man, I forgot how much work it was doing this stuff, but it's coming along. And in the meantime, I'm still storyboarding away on my comic book. And man, is that taking a long time too. But it's
it's a story about how John Tobias drew and wrote Mortal Kombat. It's a free comic book.
It's a biography. That would probably get a lot of sales, actually, if you were going to do a biographical comic book on John Tobias and Ed Boon and how they created Mortal Kombat. That's not a bad idea. I might rip that off someday.
Yeah, sure.
But we won't get John Tobias to draw it. I'm sure he's probably got too much money anyway to even want to do it.
Yes.
But anyway, that is going to do it for episode number 2 of Obscurity Now. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off, Mr. Yahel Velasquez?
No, I am good.
Well, make sure you
just watch Mortal Kombat 1993.
Yeah, and Mortal Kombat Legacy. Yeah, you don't need anything past that. But yeah, make sure you check out Yahel's awesome YouTube channel, Wrestling with Gaming, for awesome video game documentaries. And you can also go to the First Issue Ever YouTube page to check out this episode and last week's episode, as well as any place that has podcasts, and this will be there in audio form. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on Obscurity Now. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and broadcast to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes, and take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.